We're going to turn our attention to the French press now with Florence Vilmino, our press reviewer. Hello there.
Hi, Catherine.
And bit of a surprise, perhaps. They're still talking about those elections.
That's right. It's still the leading topic in the press today, as it probably will be until round 2, which is on Sunday. Now, what the press is focused on today is the rise of the far right and how the left and the right are divided about how to react to this. Let's take a look at Libération, the left-leaning paper. It talks about how there are barricades on the left while there are leaks on the right. Now, in France, there's something known as a Front Républicain. That's a kind of an electoral pact between the left and the right to block the far right. For instance, if there's a three-man race in the second round, a triangulaire, as it's known here in France, well, either the socialist candidate or the UMP candidate will drop out and tell their voters to vote for the other party, or in any case, against the far right.
Because whatever their differences are, they both dislike the National Front more.
In theory,
right.
That's what's happened up until now. But what a lot of the press is saying now is that Front Républicain is dead. Libération, for instance, says that socialists are playing by the rules, but UMP candidates, well, they're not going to pull out of the race. But Libération isn't really crying about the fact that the Front Républicain is dead. In their editorial, they say that actually it's not a very efficient way to fight against the National Front these days. And actually it feeds into National Front propaganda that the right and the left are complicit. And also, Libération says one of the reasons why it doesn't really work anymore is because the UMP has really pushed further and further towards the right. And to quote their editorial, it says, how can you tell a socialist voter to vote for the UMP when they're championing the same nauseating policies as the fascist National Front?
Oh, goodness me. Well, what about the right-leaning press? How do they see it?
Well, they're also saying that this Pacte Républicain is dead, but for different reasons. And let's take a look at Le Figaro. It actually says that this is a socialist amulet. It's an old-fashioned way to ward off evil. And Le Figaro says it's so predictable that the socialists would call on this to ward off the National Front, because what this is a pretty obvious and not very efficient puppet string that the socialists use to try and control the situation and minimize their losses in the election. But if we take a look at the front page of Le Figaro, they're really hoping to cream the socialists in the second round of the municipal elections. They're hoping for a blue wave, as Le Figaro calls it, but they're holding back from being too triumphant until Sunday because they don't want left voters to mobilize.
Okay, and the communist paper, L'Humanité, they're looking at how the National Front has really changed the political landscape, and that's something that the National Front's leader has said herself. She says it's now a three-horse race in France.
That's right. It's a new party. It's not the same National Front that it used to be. If we take a look at the front page of L'Humanité, there's a ballot box on fire there. L'Humanité says that the fact that people voted for the National Front in the municipal elections wasn't just a protest vote to punish the socialists or the UMP. It's actually, as you said, a new alternative, a third way. But L'Humanité says it's pretty anti-social in their opinion, but it's a communist paper.
Of course. Now, Le Monde, they're actually looking into what the National Front strategy is, because we've heard a lot about, people just saying, oh, we don't want the National Front to come in, but what are their actual policies and their strategies?
That's right. Well, it's a very interesting interview, actually, in Le Monde today by a sociologist, Sylvain Crépon. He takes a look at how the party has really changed since the 1990s, since Marine Le Pen took over from her father, Jean-Marie. Well, today, the candidates from the National Front, they don't champion a national message. They're told to keep a low profile and to really focus on local issues. They need to come across as local managers, and they do grassroots campaigning going from door to door. So this makes people feel a little less scared of them. They're familiar faces. But in another interview, Le Monde says that this means that the party has very different messages depending on where you are in France. And sometimes these messages are contradictory. In the north, for instance, in the industrialized north, they focus on helping people, state help, etc., whereas in the South, they actually focus on less state intervention. Le Monde says this is a potentially flawed strategy, but it's working so far.
Okay, thanks very much, Florence Vilmino, rounding up the French papers there. Back a little bit later on with a look at the international press.